In today's lesson, we're going to be adding and subtracting mixed numbers. All right, so we've been practicing adding and subtracting fractions. We're taking it to our next step with mixed numbers. So if you remember, a mixed number is a whole number and a fraction. So here I have my whole number of 1 and my fraction, so 1 4/5. Let's start with adding 1 4/5 to 2 1/10. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at my fractions and I see that I do not have like denominators. So I'm going to have to go ahead and find a common denominator for 5 and 10. When we're finding our common denominator, we're just going to look at the fraction part of our mixed number. We don't have to worry about our whole number. All right, so let's find our common denominator. Let's look at our multiples of 5 and our multiples of 10. And I see that my common denominator is going to be 10. Did you notice that right off the bat, knowing that 10 is already a multiple of 5? So we're going to find our common denominator of 10, which is great because that means 2 1/10 gets to stay the same. All I have to do is change our 4/5 into tenths. So 1 4/5. And again, I'm just changing my fraction. Okay, what times 5 equals 10? That's 2. 5 times 2 is 10, so I need to multiply my numerator by the same number as the denominator. 4 times 2 is 8. So now I can go ahead and I can add my two fractions together. I like to write my fractions vertically when I'm adding, because then it helps me when I'm looking at my numbers. So let's rewrite this as 1 8/10 that we found plus 2 1/10. So 1 8/10. 8/10 plus 1/10 is 9/10. 1 plus 2 is 3. So my answer is 3 9/10. So 1 4/5 plus 2 1/10 equals 3 9/10. And I'm looking at my fraction and it is simplified. Okay, 9 and 10 do not share any common factors. So let's try a subtraction problem. Let's do the problem 2 5/6 minus 1 1/2. All right, so already I see I do not have a common denominator. So I'm going to need to find a common denominator for 6 and 2. So I can write out my multiples of 2, 2, 4, 6, 8. My multiples of 6, 6, 12, 18. And I already can see, whoop, there's 6 in both lists. Were you able to tell before we wrote it out? So 2 5/6 already has a denominator of 6, so I can keep that one the same. And I'm going to find an equivalent fraction for 1/2 that has a denominator of 6. Okay, so my 2 5/6 is going to stay the same. But my 1 1/2, I want to change that so it has a denominator of 6. And my whole number is going to stay the same. 2 times 3 equals 6. So 1 times 3 is going to give me my new numerator of 3/6. So 1 1/2 is equal to 1 3/6. So now I'm going to go ahead and subtract my two fractions. So I'm going to start with my fractions. 5/6 minus 3/6 is going to give me 2/6. 2 minus 1 is 1. So my answer is 1 2/6. I'm looking at this fraction here. I see 2/6. They're both even numbers. So I can reduce that by dividing the numerator and the denominator by 2. And I'm going to get an answer of 1 1/3. 1 1/3. So 2 5/6 minus 1 1/2 equals 1 1/3. All right, so in today's problems, when we're adding and subtracting our mixed numbers, you're going to need to find a common denominator of our fractions. Our whole numbers are going to stay the same. When we add and subtract, we'll subtract and add the fractions first and then the whole numbers.